Have you ever wondered how those massive vats of hot dogs are made in factories? Well, today we're taking a deep dive into the inner workings of a hot dog factory to find out exactly how these iconic sausages are brought to life. The process begins with the key ingredients, meat trimmings, and water. These are loaded into industrial-sized mixers, the size of a small room, where they're combined with a huge amount of salt. The precise amount of salt used can vary depending on the recipe and the quality of the meat trimmings. However, in general, it takes about 40 pounds of salt for every 100 pounds of meat. The mixture is then blended until it forms a uniform mass. But that's not the end of the process. The next step is to grind the mixture into a smooth, paste-like consistency. This is done by forcing the mixture through a plate and a worm with the help of an auger, which is essentially a large screw-like device. This grinding process breaks down the meat fibers and helps to create the hot dog's distinct texture. After grinding, the paste is far from ready to be packaged as hot dogs. It needs to be homogenized. This means that the mixture must be broken down to a cellular level to ensure that the final product has a smooth and even texture throughout. This is achieved by forcing the mixture through a very fine mesh screen, almost like a giant colander, multiple times. Each pass through the screen removes more and more of the connective tissue until the desired smooth consistency is achieved. Once the right texture is reached, the mass is ready to be formed into hot dogs. This is done by a machine that extrudes the meat mixture through a die with a circular opening, much like toothpaste being squeezed out of a tube. The machine simultaneously encases each extruded sausage in a thin layer of fat, creating a skin-like barrier. At this point, the hot dogs are not fully cooked, but they are parboiled, meaning they're partially boiled to help set the shape and make them easier to handle. Once they're cool enough to touch, the hot dogs are cut to their final length by another machine with a set of rotating knives. The next step is one of the most important parts of the hot dog making process: smoking. The unsmoked hot dogs are placed into smokehouses where they are exposed to the smoke from smoldering wood chips. This imparts a distinctive flavor and color to the hot dogs, although some manufacturers may opt for a liquid smoke solution to achieve the same result faster. The duration of the smoking process can vary, but many factories aim to complete it within 30 minutes. After smoking, the hot dogs are thoroughly washed to remove any loose debris or spices before they are finally cooked. This is usually done by dropping them into a boiling water bath for a few minutes until they reach an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. And there you have it, a perfectly cooked hot dog. However, don't expect it to look exactly like the ones you buy at the store. At this stage, the hot dogs are plain and unadorned, so they're far from ready to be sold. To make them more visually appealing, the hot dogs are dyed red or pink using food coloring. They're then placed in casings made from sheep or pig intestines, although some manufacturers may opt for a more durable synthetic casing. Finally, the hot dogs are ready to be packaged and shipped to stores. But that doesn't mean they're ready to eat. Hot dogs should always be thoroughly cooked before consumption, whether you prefer them grilled, steamed, or boiled. We hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new about how hot dogs are made. If you're a fan of this type of content, please subscribe and leave a comment below with any questions you might have. We'll be sure to answer them in future videos. Thanks for watching.